you've got a chance now to see a very, very accomplished guitarist who's a very accomplished harmonica player doing both things at the same time. If we can bring in Enrico in. That's it. What did you say your hat was?
Yeah, it was a tribute to the UK, of course. You know, I know that this hat was born in your country.
Okay. Well, you don't have to play in it if you don't want to, but thank you for bringing it.
Oh, please, you know, my pleasure. I like that.
I met Enrico for the first time. I don't know if he remembers. He won't remember me. I was walking down a corridor in the hotel in Dallas. I think it was 2003 at Spa.
That's right. That's
And
right.
you were sitting on the floor
Oh, yeah.
playing a guitar, and there's a chromatic harmonica playing at the same time. And I couldn't quite work out what these hands were doing that were playing the guitar when somebody was playing jazz. And that's my first introduction to the hands free. And then out of that came a main interest of mine was to understand the story, which is what the video was about. But this is all about Enrico. You may get more about the story there, but Enrico is Italian, studied guitar, qualified in guitar, picked up the harmonica, did a lot of teaching, did what a lot of Europeans did. He got on a plane and flew to New York and moved to America.
That's right.
And when he was in America, he carried on studying and playing, but he managed to land a university course where he had a tutor. But he was very lucky. The tutor only had one student, and the tutor was Toots. So that can be part of your story as well. But
Yeah,
that's a good intro.
well, actually, you know, there was, you know, there was the whole story was basically invented, you know, I mean, made up by me because I didn't know. You have to understand, I was coming from Europe, and I didn't know that there was such a great amount of flexibility in the American school system. So I said, you know, it's impossible that I can have my own teacher, you know, and just suggest to the teaching body that that's what I'm going to do. But, you know, someone explained to me that this is actually possible. So I am the one who contacted Toots and asked him if he wanted to teach me to the school. And he said, yeah, sure. Well, actually, I'm on the road all the time, but if you're flexible enough to want to get together whenever I'm in town, well, we can certainly do that. And you see, as a European, you have to understand he has the same knowledge that I had. You know, he also thought that it was quite an unusual thing. You know, and he was a bit nervous about it. So as a matter of fact, you know, whenever he couldn't come back to New York, you know, within a reasonable amount of time, he would actually write me letters, and I have a few of those, and I even posted them online. You know, and there is one I want to tell you because this is really a great story, where he says, it says, Enrico, unfortunately, I won't be able to come until January. You know, I wanted to come before, but you know that my leg changed my plans. And he was referring to an accident that he had. He had fallen, you know, so he couldn't travel for a certain amount of time. And then he adds, he said, but please be careful. I don't want to get in trouble, and I don't want you to get in trouble. And, you know, if you read that letter, you know, it sounds like we were involved in some illegal trafficking of some kind. But basically, holy meant is that, well, you know, you know that I cannot be there regularly to teach you. So I don't want anybody in the school to get mad at me. So that's the story.
Okay, do you want to introduce yourself with some music?
Yes, absolutely. And this is all dedicated, this is also dedicated to all of you.
much. Thank you for the tribute to the UK again. That's a hat and a song now.
Okay, so I was saying that, well, I will tell you a couple of stories about the whole thing, but, you know, let me play something first, you know.
Yep, you enjoy playing. Great. We should take our caps off to you. That was fantastic. So one thought before you play.
Yes.
Do you think being able to play the guitar that way, that well, helped you to move into harmonica? Because for a lot of harmonica players, there's no harmony. It's a tune.
Yeah, well, and I don't know. Probably not. You see, you have to understand that what happened to me is that I had to make two different worlds converge. So I was born, musically speaking, as a classical guitarist, and for a long time, that's what I was, a classical guitarist. You know, I concertized and I taught also in Germany for a couple of years. So the harmonica didn't come until rather late in my life. I would say in my early 20s. And but that changed my life. You know, what happened was that at some point I put the guitar aside and I only used it as a harmonic tool, you know, to figure out harmonies. But that's it. And then, you know, I was a jazz harmonica player for many years. You know, at some point I landed a big job on Italian national TV. I was featured on a Saturday night show for an entire year. I mean, you know, it was not me. I mean, it was the orchestra. But, you know, I got my 40 seconds of glory, you know, every once in a while because I would solo. So that was really a big deal. And at the end of the contract, instead of taking advantage of that particularly good moment, what did I do? Since I'm totally crazy, of course, you know, I left everything and I went to America, you know, and I started everything from scratch, you know. But it was not until much later that I got to know the Hands Free Chromatic Harmonica. And I think it was in 2001, if I remember correctly, at this convention. I think
the Denver convention was 2001, and
oh well, I don't know. This
and
one
2003 is when you got it, I think, in Dallas.
In Dallas. Well, I don't know, because I mean, you said that you already heard me play, but if it was the one in Dallas,
yeah,
then I hadn't even started yet, because I seem to remember that I met Vern in Dallas, and I saw him play, you know, in one of the rooms, and you know, I approached him, and you know, sure enough, you know, I got interested right away. But listen to this. The first time that I tried it, without the guitar, of course, I said to myself, okay, after 5 minutes, you know, I could actually play a tune quite well. So I said to myself, well, okay, instead of doing this, I will do this. Ah, that can be done. Then I picked up a guitar and I tried to do both at the same time. I almost fell off my chair. I was so discouraged. I said to myself, I will never do this. It's impossible. It's too difficult. Because you see, what people don't understand, and I will tell more about this, but a little bit later, most people don't understand that the substantial difference of rec playing, you know, between diatonic harmonica and chromatic harmonica. Because there's so many people who do it. I mean, everybody does. So for years and years, I would say for decades, you know, the line that I heard the most was, oh, you do the Bob Dylan thing. You know, I said, well, I mean, you know, I love Bob Dylan. You know, he was very significant for everybody, including myself, but that's not exactly the same thing, you know. So, but anyway, I will talk about that later on, you know. So maybe I will play another tune. What do you think?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is a song that sounds like a Brazilian tune, but in fact, it's not originally. It's an Italian song that was written by Bruno Martino, who was like basically a piano bar kind of player. But he became very famous when the famous João Gilberto decided to record this tune, which became an international hit and was covered by basically every jazz musician in the entire world. Estate sei calda come i baci che ho perduto, sei piena di un amore passato, che il cuore mio vorrebbe cancellare. Estate, il sole che ogni giorno ci scaldava, che splendidi tramonti dipingeva, adesso brucia solo con furor. Tornerà un altro inverno, cadranno 1000 petali di rose, la neve coprirà tutte le cose, e forse un po' di pace tornerà. Estate, che hai dato il tuo profumo ad ogni fiore, estate che ha creato il nostro amore, per farmi poi morire di dolore. Tornerà un altro inverno, cadranno 1000 petali di rose, la neve coprirà tutte le cose, e forse un po' di pace tornerà. Estate, che hai dato il tuo profumo ad ogni fiore, estate che ha creato il nostro amore, per farmi poi morire di dolore. Odio l'estate, odio l'estate. Estate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I don't know if there are any questions. Otherwise, you know, we'll just.
I have a question which might help people understand what you're doing, because we haven't talked about the equipment yet.
Okay,
someone was asking you about your microphone.
Absolutely.
And they may mistake what's on the end for a piston. It's not a piston. It's a microphone. You tell them.
That's right. Well, okay. Initially, the system that was designed by Vern didn't have a lot of things that you see here. So it did not have this, which is a harmonica. I mean, actually a mic holder for the harmonica, and it did not have this. So basically, it was the same thing, but all you could do is have the harmonica on top of it, and played. And of course, there are several buttons that help you adjust the harmonic any way you want. The rec is pretty sturdy. It's kind of heavy, and it must be this way. So that it doesn't move around too much, move around in the wrong way. Eventually, you have to understand that both Vern and I. Well, we did not live in the same area. I mean, he lives in California. I live on the East Coast. So every adjustment that we had to make, I would suggest, and I would write emails, and then we would get together, very seldom. Probably this process could have been much quicker if we had lived in the same area, but it was not that way. But I wanna tell you a story. I remember first of all the first time that we got together after I had acquired this device. I realized that there were things that were wrong. The mouthpiece had some problems, some little defects, would get stuck. So at some point I saw Vern in another one of his local conventions, and I walked into his room, with the Hands Free Chromatic, and I said, "Hey Vern," I said, "don't say anything. I know. Try this one." And he gave me another harmonic. I put it on the rack, and it was way better. It was much better. He already knew what he was supposed to do. But anyway, I think that the funny story about Vern and me is this one. One day, Vern says to me, "Look, you have to understand that this is not like a regular chromatic harmonica. So you have to use your head to play. So I know that you can play very fast. However, you have to understand that your finger is much lighter than your head. So don't be disappointed if you cannot do the same things." And of course, he was talking from the point of view of somebody who had designed very ingeniously, I might add, because I really think that Vern is a genius. He had designed this instrument, but he didn't know himself how much you can do with it. Because of course, he could play a little bit, but he had no ambition of becoming highly proficient. He wanted to give his invention to the world. So I thought about it, and I said, there was something that was not convincing in his description. And then I realized, when I went home, I realized that he was in fact wrong, because I did not have to move my head. Being that the movement is only 4 millimeters, I only had to move my lips up and down. So a few months down the line, I got together with Vern again, and I said, "Hey Vern, look at this, look at this." And I played a couple of fast traces on the chromatic. Vern lightened up. He threw his head to the ceiling and said, "You are my hero! You are my hero!" Because of course he didn't know exactly how much you can do. And the answer, because I know that some people ask me, so if somebody wants to ask me, I will answer right now. Yes, the hands-free chromatic harmonica, you can do anything that you can do with a chromatic harmonica. And yes, you can be just as fast. Absolutely, no question about it. And in some cases, depending on what you do, you can be even faster. And there is a main difference. I'd like to stress that this not for anything, but just, for, let's say, historical purposes. We know that there's a foot control device that was invented, which actually is the first thing that any harmonica player came up with, including myself, many decades ago. I said to myself, "Oh, it would be great, if someone could make a hands-free chromatic harmonica." And everybody came up with the same idea, a foot pedal that would control the slide. And I had a prototype built by a friend of mine, a mechanical engineer, But then, after a while, I got discouraged. I was so bulky, and it needed so many improvements. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that there are some people around the world who use such devices, and quite successfully, I might add. However, when I tried the hands-free chromatic harmonic, I realized right away that it eliminated all this mediation, that this thing whereby the movement has to go from the foot to the wire to the slide. So that's why the hands-free chromatic harmonica is much more effective. Like for example, something like this, a trill like that, with a foot-controlled harmonica would be impossible, because you cannot move your foot that fast. And even if you do, the movement has to travel to the slide. So the most that you can do with that is, that's it, no more than that. So a new world of possibility opened up, and I said to myself, well, you know what? This is what I want to do when I grow up. And for the record, that it might interest you to know that basically when I practice, I never ever use a regular chromatic harmonic anymore. Which doesn't mean that I don't practice. I practice my butt off, but always in this way, because I don't even have to use the Eversold records. You know what I mean? I just make, I accompany myself. So I have some regular chromatic harmonicas that I use only when I play with another band, with a quartet. And now another question that I get: is it difficult to transition from one instrument to the other? As far as I'm concerned, absolutely not. I can just take this thing off and start playing with the trio, with the regular chromatic harmonica, with no problem whatsoever.
Okay.
Any question?
There are questions about how you solved problems of playing guitar and harmonica together, but I guess that was practice, was it?
Yes, yes and no. Meaning that he was almost like, I don't know how to describe it because I don't want to sound silly, but almost like a metaphysical experience for me. In other words, I realized that I had to make up my own exercises, because I couldn't learn from anybody, obviously, because nobody had ever done it before. And so I had to come up with something, but I also feel like I had some help, strangely, from, I don't know, from another world. It was like somebody would suggest that I do certain things, and I keep doing those things, even though my first instinct was that of total disencouragement, because you can be discouraged by this. And of course, I'm talking, don't get me wrong, because I don't want to I don't mean that people shouldn't do that. Of course, we actually want exactly the opposite. We want people to try that. However, achieving a certain level of proficiency is much more difficult than in any other situation, for the very simple reason that you're dealing with two different instruments. So for one thing, you have to match the level. In other words, if you're great on the harmonica and your guitar playing is not that great, you sound like a duo where only one of the musicians shine, and at the end of the day, someone will say, yeah, the harmonica player was great, but the guitar player, not so much. And it's exactly the same thing the other way around. So what happened was that I was a classical guitarist who started playing jazz on the harmonica. Now, although I had a considerable amount of technique on the guitar, my jazz playing was not that great. I had to learn a lot of things, in jazz terms, so that the level would be appropriate on both instruments. And what happened is that the one thing that haunted me for years, and I always like to say that because it's kind of funny too, is the comparison with Bob Dylan. Now, why do they say Bob Dylan? Of course, because he was the most famous person in the world that was ever seen, everywhere playing two instruments at the same time, the harmonic and the guitar. So, everybody thinks about him. Although a few, sometimes say Bruce Springsteen, it's the same thing. But I want to tell you a couple of stories that illustrate what I say, because this is, in terms of image, it's probably the biggest obstacle. People do not understand fully what you're doing up there. And I will give you the example of a very good proficient musician, a buddy of mine, whom I played with many times, and what happened was that during my concerts, and I still do that, if I play in trio or in quartet, there's always a point where, I do my solo thing for 2 or 3 tunes. So this guy said to me with kind of a friendly complicity, looking around, and said, "Hey, Enrico, can you tell me something? I thought that you were doing something really, really special, unique, but I saw someone else do the same thing on TV the other day." I said, "Yeah, who was that?" "Bruce Springsteen." So I said to myself, okay, well, this is new, because this is the first time that somebody mentioned somebody other than Bob Dylan. But okay, I explained to him, said, "Hey, listen, but don't you understand that this is chromatic? It's a different story. I had to move the mouthpiece up and down." So of course, as being a musician, he got it right away. But the image, conditions you sometimes. So there's another episode that is even more enlightening. I met another musician. I mean, I'm talking about brilliant people who are all the way up there, because let's face it, I mean, you live in the New York metropolitan area, you have all the best musicians in the world. So anyway, I meet this guy. "Hello, how you doing?" I said, "Oh, okay, what are you doing now?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to develop this double thing." And the guy, in a very dismissive tone, "Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you mean the harmonic and guitar at the same time." So I said to him, "Let me ask you something. You've seen this before?" "Well, of course I've seen this before. Come on, I mean, we're musicians, we've seen it all." I said, "Are you sure? Have you seen anybody actually improvise in the jazz language on a harmonica like this, accompanying himself or herself on the guitar?" Yeah, of course, come on." So I pushed it a little bit. I said, "Could you please be more specific and give me some names?" Well, I don't remember exactly. I don't know. But, that's the double thing, like Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen. So here we go again. The only examples that they can give me is Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen. So it was not easy for me, when I did my first solo CD, I made sure that people would understand what I was doing. I wrote, wait a second, I have a copy here. See, this thing. I make sure that people, oh, I know, I'm sorry. It's, I should reverse.
It's the right way around. It's okay. It is the right way around.
Okay, yeah. In other words, I made sure I would write, this was done without, absolutely without any overdubbing, because it's the first thing that everybody would think is that, well, this was probably overdubbed, but it was not. So anyway, so why don't I play another piece? Now this is going to be also another Brazilian tune, but it was written by a friend of mine who unfortunately passed away less than a year ago, and he was one of the most brilliant trumpet players in the world. You know, you might know of him. His name was Claudio Roditi. I used to play with Dizzy Gillespie in the United Nations Orchestra, and he was a brilliant musician. So I was with him many times also in Europe, and I decided to play this tune called Claudinho. His name is Claudio, but I figured, you know, his mother must have called him Claudinho when he was little, because that's what it means, little Claudio. And he confirmed that actually that's the way it was.
Such great music.
Thank you. You know, maybe if you give me 1 second,
Do whatever you wish.
I'll switch instruments, okay, so that
Okay? All
I
right?
can do the other thing. Sorry. Okay, so here we go. Thank you.
Yeah. You've got about 20 minutes left. Could I suggest you remember one thing first? I said I'd remind you that Cynthia is in the audience. If you want to shout out to Cynthia, what will you remember?
Hi, Cynthia.
Cynthia is the lady with no hands who's in a video you just watched. The other person who played this when Vern designed it. So she may be in the green room when we finished. You never know. Okay.
Okay, here we go. So now I'm gonna play another tune, which is originally it's a pop tune, but you know I will funk it up a little bit.
excellent.
Thank you.
About 15 minutes. There's a question in here, and I just thought we're all assuming everybody saw the film. Without spoiling your setup, can you just demonstrate to the unbelievers what that harmonica looks like if you turn it round, and you can show how it. Just take it off, and if you've got another one, just demonstrate to them what happens.
See, okay, so a chromatic harmonica obviously has a slide on the side. This one has a movable mouthpiece, which is mounted on two light springs on the side. So what you do, you just push it with your lips. When you release it, it goes back to the upper reed plate. So, you know, you have the C major diatonic scale. Here you have the C sharp major diatonic scale, just like the slide. You know, there's nothing different. As a matter of fact, I mean, these harmonicas are not built from scratch. As you see, this is just a Hohner, a 270, you know. So what Vern started doing was just, you know, take the mouthpiece off, drill a couple of holes, you know, getting a couple of screws, and built a new mouthpiece. That's basically it. It's very simple. You know, the earlier models had the external springs, which obviously were kind of you know, very delicate, very fragile. So eventually he came up with the idea of putting the spring inside, you know, which is absolutely brilliant, you know. So this is the way it works. Is that clear?
Yeah, thanks. Very clear. You see, once you've seen it, there's no more questions. Until you see it, you can't work out what you're doing.
And then, you know, like I said, at some point, you know, I was, you know, initially I was playing with a little lapel mic, you know. Well, actually it was a very, very sensitive device, very expensive too. And it was tiny, you know, it was really very, very small, but I was sick of having this wire coming out from, you know, around my body. So I said to myself, you know, I really need a wireless system. And at that point, what happened was by chance, you know, I talked to my buddy, Ronald Swansky, who's a marvelous keyboard player, but he also works for AMT, Applied Microphone Technology in New Jersey. And they make microphones for, you know, for all instruments. And they had come up with a harmonica mic, which is this one. You know, it's long, so that it goes along the length of the harmonica, so that it can pick up every single sound. And so I said to Vern, look, I mean, how can we do this? And he said, okay, no problem. So he built these two brackets, you know, so with two holes. So the mic is inserted into these brackets, and that's it. And at some point I said, look, because initially it actually had a wire just like the other one. I said, listen, I need a wireless system. So ATM supplied, you know, this kind of device, which they originally used for other instruments. So again, I went to Vern and I said, hey, Vern, you know, I need something else from you. You know, and he just built this little thing. So you put the wireless, this is the receiver. You put the receiver here and you're all set. So I mean, it's very easy to explain, as you see, but you have to understand that this was really work in progress for several years, because obviously, as I said before, we couldn't get together every other day, you know. So, and you know, by writing emails, you can only do so much, you know.
Yeah, I think it's worth. We've got to give credit around to everybody. So if you probably should shout out to Michael Easton.
Yes, Mike. Yeah, absolutely. Well, but I was going to say that because the whole story is actually a little longer than that. You know, I was covering the first stage. At some point, you know, we hadn't gotten to that point, because at that point, Vern was still working on the instruments, was still making them available for the general public. You know, he was the only one who was working on that. At some point, he just got tired of it. He said, you know, I would like someone to take over, you know, to do the physical work. And all I will do is basically, they can consult with me, whatever help or advice or suggestion I will give it to them. And the first one who did that was Chris Reynolds, who was a marvelous mechanic. I mean, he was a marvelous engineer. He could do amazing things. I mean, his mouthpieces, which I still use, were basically perfect. It was wonderful. But at some point, he too got tired of it because, as you can imagine, this is no lucrative business. So he also had to make some money. And at some point, I remember that, his attention got very scant. Sometimes, it would take a long time to get the instruments back because, of course, he had to take care of his own needs. So I said to myself, oh my God, now Chris Reynolds dropped out, we're in trouble. And in the meantime, Michael Easton that you mentioned was the one who was fixing my regular chromatic harmonicas. So he had done that for many years. And I was so relieved and so happy when I found out that Michael and Vern were communicating and that Michael, out of all people, was the one who would take over. I mean, I was in seventh heaven. Let's face it, come on. I mean, see, you have to understand my dilemma. I mean, you are a harmonica player and you're on the road. At some point, your instrument breaks. Listen, at Honor 270, I mean, you can find it in supermarkets, I mean, they're so popular that you have no problem. But me, with a hands-free chromatic harmonica, something happens to my instruments, what the heck am I going to do? I mean, I'm lost. You know what I mean? Of course, needless to say, whenever I'm on the road, I bring at least 3 instruments with me. But sometimes, you run into a situation where you might need one. So what can I do? The only thing that I can do is call Michael and say, could you please rush me an HFC? I'm desperate. So his work is extremely important, and I wish it could be a little bit more lucrative, but unfortunately it's not. Maybe, people will start using it more, but I don't know. I mean, I'm here to help. That's it. That's all I can say.
His website is
an incident, I want to tell you something. I've done tons of workshops, like this. And they were very well attended. Sometimes the room was packed, very nice people who would ask the right questions. But I never, ever had anybody who would actually come, to demonstrate and to show me what they had done. So, maybe at some point we need that, right?
Okay. You've got about another, 5, 7, 8 minutes. I don't know when they're going to throw us off, but I think we should be finishing at 1:15. So maybe another 5 or 7 minutes. One more song.
So shall I? I'll just play something else. Hold on a second. Let me see. Oh yes. Okay. Well, I'm gonna wear another hat for the next.
This is your guitarist's hat.
So no, this is okay. This is a hat that is used by mountaineers in the Republic of Georgia. All right. And that country is very close to my heart because, I have a friend who's like one of the best violinists in the world. His name is Vitali Imereli. And so I visited that country and, I bought this as a souvenir. And he explained to me that this is one of the most important items of mountaineers because, first of all, it protects your head from the cold and from the heat. But more than anything, you can use it as a cup, I mean, they use it to drink the water from the streams, So now, why am I wearing this? Because the next tune is called Georgia on My Mind. Of course, it's a different Georgia, It's on the other side of the ocean, and it's where I am right now. think I need more volume here. So I made a short version because I figured, I don't know how much time we still have, but I don't know.
I'm under no pressure. I keep asking, can we keep going? We're waiting for Will to arrive. We don't know where he is. So if you want to play until they throw me off,
okay. Well, I will say something about Will actually, because I must. I'm ashamed of myself, but I must say that he's the only harmonica player that I really know among all the people who were featured. And I have no problem admitting that it's due to my own ignorance. But Will is the only one, because it's also the first one that I met when I came to this country. And listen to this story. So I'm walking around the Greenwich Village in New York City, thinking, I'm coming from Europe. So, well, you're in America, I will see a jazz harmonica player on every street corner. Well, not true. I couldn't find anybody. I was desperate. So one day I went past this club called the Preacher's Cafe on Bleecker Street, and I see someone playing the harmonica. I said, my God, this can't be true. So I walked in and I waited to the end of the set. Then I went to talk to, that was him, William Gallis. I said, hi, my name is Enrico, I'm just come from Italy, I'm a harmonica player. And right away, of course, he said, oh, you play diatonic? I said, no, I play chromatic. Really? He said, come with me. He took me inside and he said, can you please play a couple of phrases for me? So I picked up my harmonica and I played something for him. Said, okay, you're gonna play with me tonight. So he took me back to the stage, and introduced me. He said, I have this guy who just came from Italy, a great harmonica player, and he's gonna be playing with me, blah, 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 blah. So, hello, Will. I will be listening to you too, and that's the story that I wanted to take.
That's great. I thought it was great. Did he ever take you to Charlie's?
Charlie's? Oh, yes, actually. Well, not him. It was at some point, it was a different person who took me there. His name was Bob Beck. He was actually a piano tuner for Steinway for many years, but he had retired. And he got into the harmonica. So, of course, he knew that I played harmonica. He used to come to trumpets, to listen to music. And, he insisted that I go to one of those conventions. As a matter of fact, fact, it's because of him that I ended up meeting Vern, because I knew nothing about this I don't know what to call it, harmonica underworld.
Community.
I knew nothing, and I came here, and for the record, I would like to people to understand that I considered myself not like back then a harmonica player. I consider myself a musician who was using the harmonica to play music. So in other words, I was looking for people to play with, not necessarily harmonica players, although I would have liked to, but back then, there was no internet, no cellular phones, nothing. So for decades, I didn't even know that there was such a thing like SPA and all these harmonica conventions, etc.
That's great, because when we finish, when we break, eventually, when they tell me it's time to finish, the next film before Will is one about Tuesday at Charlie's. So it's got the group. Well, it was Will, Rob Paparazzi, Randy was there, and Charles Franklin, and Charlie. And just playing.
I was there only a couple of times, towards the end, like a couple of years before he died,
But I'll make sure you get to see the film, because when we finish, you go to the green room and they play the video while you're in the green room.
Okay.
I'll send you the video. It's great because it's about that whole afternoon, and you can tell from all the artists how much they revered Charlie Layton, because Charlie was within 2 years of dying. He hardly got out of his chair, but as soon as he played, the music just came pouring out like water. He could hardly talk or remember, but he could play. So it's great that there is that connection between your experience when you arrived.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, have another number. Go on.
What's that? I'm sorry?
You can play another number if you like.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I got one question while you were playing.
Yes.
And that was not necessarily to do with Hands Free, but your approach to jazz. If you're playing with a lot of jazz musicians, do you play in their key, or do you force everybody to play in your key? Do you play all keys on the harmonica?
Yes. Well, I try to play stuff in the original key. Sometimes traditionally certain jazz tunes have more than one original key. Like for example, Green Dolphin Street people do it either in E flat or C. But there are other songs that people do in the original key, generally speaking, and unless there are singers, of course. that's a different story, you know.
Yeah,
But this was in B flat, you know, the original key, Tenor Madness by Sonny Rollins.
yeah, that's right. I know that one. Yeah. So we are still waiting for Will. If you have you had enough? Have you played as much as you want to play? If you want
Oh,
to play
Will's
another
not.
one, you can play. It's your time. From now
Okay.
on, you're in charge.
Okay. Wait a second. I'll do it as a boss. Okay.
Fantastic. We would like now to introduce you to our chairman. Pete, Pete will be joining us to thank you and to take over and organise the rest of the evening. Are you there, Pete?
Thank you. Shall I stay here or go
You
to a different?
you stay there. Pete will come up in a minute.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's not there at the moment, Roger.
All right. Sorry, I thought the note was that he was there. Okay, we can keep talking again.
Sure, whatever. You know.
I've got lots of things I've got lots of questions I can't tell you because I didn't realise there were so many Italians. It's full. When I look at the chat, it's full of Italian comments.
Well, I see Giovanni Volini, my friend.
Yeah, that's right, Giovanni is there. Fabulous playing. Thanks a lot. Lovely crisp sounds. Thank you for a beautiful musical evening. Nice one. A lovely one I just passed on. Somebody wrote, how interesting. Once upon a time, Will brought Enrico onto the stage to play. And tonight Enrico's holding the stage until Will can get there.
All right. Well, hopefully there will be real stages soon, very soon. You know.
Will is here. He's in the back room now, backstage. So
Okay,
we'll
great.
be handing over. Here we go.
There we are.
Hi.
Enrico, what a fantastic class you've just done. Unbelievable. And Here, Now and Everywhere by the Beatles, one of my favourite tunes, and it sounded absolutely beautiful on your harmonica.
Thank you.
We're backstage. We lost Will Gallison. We lost him over the internet, but we found him. So,
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear it.
have you had a good session with Roger? Have you had fun?
Yes, absolutely. It was fantastic. You know, I didn't know actually what to expect. You know, this is my first time in a situation like this. You know, I was actually, you know, it's funny because I was way more nervous than on a real stage. You know what I mean? Because on a real stage, you know what to expect. But in a situation like this, you know, we're just playing behind a computer and everybody's thousands of miles away. I don't know. It's scary, you know.
Well, do you know what? You'd never know you're new to Zoom because you came across so natural and, you know, really engaging as well. That's something that's kept coming up in the chat. So well done to you. Fantastic. And well done, Roger.
Well, the sound quality has been great on this. I mean, we've worried all the time about you with your old mobile phone and square photographs. I thought this guy's miles away.
We have to thank Trevor for that.
Yes, you beat me to it. The guy who never gets the credit. Everybody credits me and Peter and everybody else. The one who's backstage all the time and working at night when we all go to sleep.
Yeah,
Trevor Yeo, stand up and can you give a big clap to Trevor, without whom this could never have happened?
Thank you.
I think every organisation should have a Trevor Yeo, shouldn't they? The bare minimum. Yeah. Great stuff. So, Enrico, are you willing to go to the green room? I'm sure there'll be people who'd like to.
Yes, absolutely.
And
so
Roger,
let me
see
if I can. So, shall I share? Okay, let me see. I'm trying
breakout rooms. Before you
go, let's.
Wait a second. I mean, who's supposed to do the? Oops, I'm sorry, I lost everything here.
Okay, wait a minute, Enrico.
Yes.
I'd like to give everyone a last chance to show their appreciation. So let's see. So a show of hands, please, for Enrico.
Thank you.
Very good indeed. All right. So if you go to the breakout room, you click on that,
here I am.
then you should see down the bottom somewhere. If you scroll down, you'll see green room. It says number 9 on green room if you're on a Mac.
Actually, here I see green room right on top.
Yeah.
Okay.
Public bar.
If you click on the green room and join, it'll take you just like outer space travel to the next room.
Okay, so now I did click on green room, but join. Oh yes, now I see that. Okay, so I'm gonna go. All right, thank you very much.
Cheers, Enrico. Well done.
Bye. Talk to you soon. Bye.